Should be live.
Cool. Okay. View channel. Live. We are live. Okay. View channel. Hello. Share. Facebook. Open.
Why isn't the live sign on?
God, dude, you morons. Every week people say this to me. It's not working right now.
Well, then we're not live.
We are live.
That's like the legit sign. You know how there's Facebook official for dating?
Yeah, and Dylan does this to me every fucking time.
That's like the equivalent of Facebook
Well,
official.
you got it for Uncle Joey.
No, he got it for himself.
That's
to be honest.
Joey. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Nice.
Is that better?
Yes. I feel legit now.
All right, so we're live. I shared it. If you guys can go on there and share it, we will. We already got 3 watchers right now.
You think people actually want to?
Absolutely,
listen
brother.
to me talk?
Yeah. Dude.
No, I doubt it.
No, they do. They do. I promise. Right, Dill?
What page are we live on?
You think Mike will get on here?
We're live on
There we go.
my page, Cheesy Ponies. I shared the YouTube. We're only live on YouTube, and I think so. We are ready.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Welcome to Cheesy Ponies, where we talk about football, we talk about fantasy and fantasies, or just fantasy.
Yeah, we said we were going to do fantasies this year.
That's true. So, as always, guys, you're used to Justice League, Big Sturg, but we also have got Justin Marlin back in the studio. We're excited to talk about NFL. It is NFL time. And let me do myself. Sorry, boys. Now, is that better?
I didn't come prepared.
He did not. So sit back, relax, grab a beer, grab a drink, grab whatever it is. A tea, sweet tea, unsweet tea, protein shake, doesn't matter. Sit back, relax, and let's talk about some
fantasy football.
Or not.
What do you mean, or not?
Just kidding. I was looking forward to the fantasies.
Well, we said we were going to try to keep it more PG.
I mean, our everyday lives are fantasy.
We're trying here, Justin. We're trying to appease you so you're not embarrassed of us anymore, dude. Okay? Either you're going to love it or you don't love us.
Never embarrassed you.
You were. You were like, Diane, can you cut back on the F-bombs and the S-bombs and the P-bombs?
What's wrong with French toast?
Huh?
You said F-bomb.
French toast.
Yeah. What's wrong with it?
Yeah.
Why are we cutting back on it?
Well, just because we're going to have people listening here that we want all different ages and different lifestyles to be able to come in here.
I mean, just
and
make
enjoy.
Sure you got powdered sugar and maple syrup, and I'm good with the French toast.
So, guys, it's hard to believe that it's been 2 years. It's been 2 years. Now, we're adding on to this Justin Marlin back in the back there. You can see his bald head. He'll probably be doing mostly remote, but probably sometimes in studio. We'll be more prepared next time. But Big Sturg and Justin, we created this. It was probably 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Cheesy Ponies. And we really enjoyed it, but life just got busy. And, we heard your guys' cries for help in your fantasy league. So we decided to bring in Justice League, a.k.a. Dylan. But we call him Justice League in American Whiskey. So I'm probably going to still call you that. So,
well, we tried to resurrect it 2 years ago, like you said.
We did. We tried.
And we did like 2 or 3 episodes.
It just
kind of faded off.
It was like I wasn't into the fantasy, I think, and that was like
he was
issue.
giving up that year.
But I'm big time into it this year.
He's back.
I'm so solid in 4 different leagues. I think I'm winning them all.
See, it took me a while to get back into it this year. I'm normally looking this stuff and doing research in like end of June, beginning of July, and I'm like a month deep by the time draft comes around. But this time I was looking up stuff a week before the draft, so I'm definitely behind the ball now. But I'm stoked.
You're back.
I'm ready to go.
Marlin's back.
Season.
Well, Marlin, I'm sure you'll be excited. Big Sturg has been doing research since the draft.
I'm excited to hear what he's got.
Literally.
I'm excited to see what he did with his top 5 here.
He kept taking on my players in our fantasy draft. So.
Well, speaking of that, Dylan, what are we going to talk about first here?
One thing that's interesting for everybody is not who you're taking first round. who are you taking outside the first or maybe fringe second round players that could be fantasy winners for you?
Now, are you wanting to go top 5 in order from 1 to 5?
So we'll all start at top 5. We'll start at number 5
Okay.
and work our way down one by one.
So who's first?
Justin, you still doing research?
Yeah, I need 1 or 2 more. So
We'll
if
be
you
more
guys wanna
prepared
start,
next
you can
time,
go
though.
for it.
So, Sturge, I'll just kick it off.
Yeah.
Number 5, I didn't even want to put him on my list because he's a proven player. Was hit by injuries last year, which led to a newcomer, Puka Nakua. But my number 5 is Cooper Kupp.
I like that.
I think he's going to have a rebound year this year, and a lot of people are saying Puka Nakua are going to take targets from him. I think it's going to go the opposite. I think Nakua is going to take pressure off of him, and he's going to have a lot of one-on-one coverages.
I think honestly that both can finish as top 10 receivers, depending on how that offense does this year. They both can be successful.
So 2,000-yard receivers.
Very
Sure.
easily could be done there.
But Kupp definitely, to your point, Dylan, is a much later draft pick, so he has a lot better value. Puka's doing like top 10 picks.
Yeah,
so.
and
That's kind of weird to
I
me.
would rather Cooper Kupp, proven player, over a second-year player.
That's almost like taking a coup or who was the 49ers?
You're talking about
Debo Samuel,
Ayuk and
Ayuk.
Debo.
Ayuk. Yeah, like taking them top 10. I just don't like it. So my number 5 is Ladd McConkey. And the reason is mainly because he's starting in the slot position.
Yep.
And I think, I mean, we saw that with like Randall Cobb or the guy from New England a few years back. What was his name? The white guy, the receiver, who
Edelman,
like
or Wes
Welker. Like you see that those guys really do well in those positions in the slot. And, I see him having at least 80 catches this year. So he could see him pushing 7, 8, maybe even 900 yards. And as a rookie. So I think a lot of people sleep on the Chargers anyways, but I think people really are sleeping on Ladd and what he's bringing to the table.
Right. And just to add to that a little bit, we talked about him earlier. That's a wide receiver room that's not very great.
Right.
And I could see Ladd becoming their number 1 target. And Justin Herbert loves throwing the ball.
Yeah. Top fantasy guy seems to be.
I actually think Joshua Palmer is being slept on too much, because Joshua Palmer, when they had all the injuries last year, he ended up being the guy. He already has chemistry with Justin Herbert. They are getting a new system this year with a new head coach.
Well, I don't think that don't think that I'm putting him down by saying Ladd's going to have a good year.
No, I like Ladd too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're different receivers.
I think he's a flex. So if I drafted Ladd, he's my flex.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So he's not a number 1. He's not a number 2, but he could sneak in there at a flex. Or if you have a buy on a guy and you need a receiver at your receiver too,
right?
He's going to give you, I wouldn't say week in, week out numbers, but he's probably going to surprise you depending on what defense they're playing, But Justin Herbert really passes the ball well.
And I could see Ladd being a high ceiling flex guy.
Yeah. I agree. So, Justin, who do you have at 5?
Did we go through all 5 for? Or
we're just doing 5. Our last guy here.
I honestly, as much as I'm surprised at myself, I like Devontae Adams where he's going. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Devontae Adams because he didn't have a typical Devontae Adams year last year. To be fair, he had a terrible head coach and Josh McDaniels to start the year, who got fired midseason. And then he had Aiden O'Connell and Jimmy Garoppolo and just not high echelon quarterbacks throwing to him. However, he had Gardner Minshew come over in the offseason. Josh McDaniels is gone. And Gardner Minshew
Marlon's a fan.
Michael Pittman last year
with
Gardner Minshew was a thing in fantasy.
Yeah.
And I mean, who's the number 1?
I just got the chills because he's right.
Who's the number 1 for Oakland this year? It's Devontae, and Gardner Minshew's going to be slinging that ball to him.
Yeah.
And you can never go against, like Justin's saying, the Minshew magic.
You just can't.
That stash is going to be out there again. And he's starting.
I truly believe it too, because like I the mustache is back, baby. Like he's an athlete, but he's also a good quarterback.
Everywhere he has went, he has made that wide receiving crew fantasy relevant.
Do you remember when he played for Jacksonville?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's your backup quarterback that knows he wants to be a starter. Here's his chance. Here's his chance because who's his backup? O'Donnell, right?
Aiden
Aiden
O'Connell.
O'Connell, yeah.
O'Connell, sorry. Apologize.
It's all right.
So Aiden O'Connell. But Justin will tell you, I really liked him too.
Yeah.
So
Second year in the system, he was a rookie last year. So I mean,
if Minshew goes in there and doesn't do well, you could see him. So there's another guy there that if you have like a dynasty league,
yep,
you may want to snag. But I really like Minshew Magic too, Justin. I think that's a solid pick.
thank you.
All right, Justin, bring it back around. Who do you have for?
You know what? I don't think you have this one. I tried to make sure I didn't go with anybody on your list. I like Malik Neighbors. He was on your list, right?
No, he
No.
was not.
Malik Neighbors.
I didn't think about him.
He's a rookie. I mean, so no one knows what it's going to look like. He's going into Giants offense.
They have no one
No
else.
one believes in Daniel Jones. Let's be real.
Except for the Giants.
But Malik Neighbors is an alpha receiver. He showed it in college, and he's already shown that chemistry with Daniel Jones. I mean, we got a little bit of a taste of it in the preseason, and I mean, if anyone watched Hard Knocks, you saw that he already has that connection with Daniel Jones. So they're going to have to throw the ball this year, especially if they're losing games, which we all expect them to do. So, I mean, Malik Neighbors, I think, is going to get heavily targeted by Daniel Jones, and I think he's a guy that you can pick up late in the draft that could be a wide receiver too on fantasy.
And Matt Kick, we have a fan comment here.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in here and
pop that on the screen.
Pop some trades up. If you have some trades you want to talk about, pop them up for us. We will definitely talk about it.
For sure.
Yeah, man. We love to do it. And you know, it's interesting you brought him up because right when you said the name, Justin, I was like, he's so right. But here's my question. Could he make Daniel Jones?
I mean, he could he could make Daniel Jones look good for sure.
Right.
I'm interested to see. They really changed up that offense this year. They tried to bolster the offensive line because part of the reason that Daniel Jones has not done well is his inability to stay healthy because he takes so many hits. So I think I'm interested to see what happens there. And then the running back situation, I mean, you're moving on from a franchise player in Saquon Barkley, who carried that offense. I mean,
agreed,
with and without Daniel Jones.
Yes.
And they brought in Devin Singletary, who has been a journeyman running back, not really to me excited. I mean, he had some decent games with the Texans last year, but they also have, I think, a rookie in Trace, or I forget what his name is.
I like Singletary, but he's not your 1,000-yard back.
Yeah.
You know, he'll be utilized, but he's not, you know, but with that being said, you're going to see him in a different team and a different environment. So Singletary could have a pretty decent year.
Tyrone Tracy Jr. is
that's right.
The running back with all the hype that's behind Singletary. So I mean, who knows? But I think there's definitely a lot of questions that offense needs to answer this year. And I think for sure, I agree with you that Malik Neighbors can be a big part of that answer.
All right, guys, I got my answer on this trade that he just put up that's up on the screen.
What do we got going?
Is that a trade or
so
a
the
team?
Trade? So his team is up there, and then the trade's at the bottom. You get Mark Andrews and David Montgomery and Najee Harris, and all you're giving up is Etienne and Jake Ferguson. You do that every day of the week. Mark Andrews is going to finish way above where Ferguson is, and then you're getting Montgomery and Najee. You're losing the better part of the running back crew of Etienne, but you can.
I think that's.
But you can make up for that getting Montgomery and Najee. And you already have Jonathan Taylor as your number one back. I say you go for it. You're upgrading your tight end tremendously.
What do you think, Justin?
See, honestly, I am a fan of Jake Ferguson. I know he's getting drafted late in drafts, and he's not really like a top 5 sexy tight end that you want to trust week in, week out. Maybe he did get targeted a lot in the red zone last year, so I don't hate him. I do like David Montgomery late in drafts. For some reason, he's going super late and cheap.
What do you think of the trade?
Honestly, I think the best piece in that trade is Travis Etienne.
But you also have to look at Nick Chubb sitting on his bench. It's going to be back after a few weeks.
Yeah, but we don't know what he's going to be. I mean, he's coming back from a serious injury.
I think he's going to be good.
I think getting Mark Andrews out of that, though, is killer.
Well, will Mark Andrews stay healthy? I mean, he's coming into the season with an injury as well.
I think we got a 2-1 here. Matic, I think, right? So I vote yes. You make the trade.
I would do it in a
I
heartbeat.
think Justin would think about it a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd probably have to do some research. I don't think it's terribly uneven either way.
But look at his bench, or look what he's got on his lineup.
Yeah, no,
I think he's got even Blake Corum could see double-digit numbers and could be a halfway decent back later too.
Right.
I think
I really like
the trade
Blake Corum.
probably favors the Andrews side just because you get Montgomery and Najee.
Yeah.
So you have two backs, and one of those guys should be able to fill in for Etienne each week.
But Najee's not shown a lot.
No, I'm not a fan of Najee, and that's why I wasn't super quick to jump on that end of the trade. I mean, Najee to me can be a bench player any week because if he doesn't get a touchdown, then he's horribly inefficient.
Yeah.
Also, Russ may run the ball more this year. I don't know if that takes away from their backfield or if it gives the backfield a better production because of his threat at running.
And then the other thing too, you got to think is if Russ gets benched or Russ gets hurt, you get Justin Fields in there and he's going to run a lot. So
I mean, I just like it because you have Nick.
I'd like to see Russ run some more this year. But
Montgomery can carry the load with Jonathan Taylor as your two starting backs until Nick Chubb comes back.
So Maddox, don't forget, this is you're on the American Whiskey YouTube page. Go over to Cheesy Ponies Fantasy Football. Follow us on there because next Monday that's where we'll be. But let's continue here to our number 4. I've got Raheem Mostert, and here's why. I think he was a touchdown dog last year
for sure,
and he's 32 years old, but he's a lightly used 32-year-old, really good running back. He may not be your running back that you're going to get those big explosive plays, but what you're going to get at him or from him week in and week out is the goal line. You're at goal line. They're going to hand the ball off to Mostert to get it in the end zone because it's hard to think about this, but those coaches aren't thinking about your fantasy players.
No,
they're thinking about Cheen getting them downfield and trying to prevent him from getting seriously hit. And Mosert's going to see a lot of touchdowns there within 10 yards of the end zone. So he's my number 4.
I have drafted Achane in quite a few leagues because he's not on my list, but he's someone that I think is more valuable than what he's going in drafts. The one league I did last night, though, I was able to grab Mostert as well. Mostert to make sure.
So you like him too?
I do like Mostert. I think that backfield in general is ranked entirely too low. I mean, Achane is going later than he should, and Mostert is like one of the last picks in your draft. So I think both those guys have at least flex relevance. I think Achane has the higher upside.
Agreed.
He's more explosive and will probably get more carries, but I don't disagree that Mostert is probably going to be the back they go to on like third and short goal line carries to get those tough yards for sure.
And I agree with everything Justin just said. That was my point on the head.
Well, do you think people question him this year because of his age?
I wouldn't say they're questioning because of his age. I think his fantasy value dropped off just because how explosive Achane came onto the scene last year, and people think he's going to get more and more looks. That is going to be the case. But like you guys said, it's like David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yep.
Jahmyr Gibbs is way more elite of a change of pace back than Montgomery, but Montgomery finds ways to the end zone every game. So,
and the thing what people don't realize is last year Raheem Mostert had 18 touchdowns.
Yep. He had multiple games where
that's a lot of touchdowns.
I mean,
let's say he gets 12 touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
It's still really good to see a running back in double digits on those and like I said, I don't see him getting 100 yards often, but I do see him getting 2 touchdowns every couple games.
Yeah, I think the only risk you run is that he may be a touchdown or bust candidate each
week.
You're
right. 100%. I think he's not going to get those yards.
Yeah, but that Dolphins offense has shown that they're so explosive.
Yeah,
that he's going to get tons of opportunities, and I think he'll have a touchdown more often than he does not each game.
And I agree with that.
I'm going to go. Did you go 4?
No.
Okay, sorry about that. Go ahead.
So number 4.
Sorry, buddy.
It's someone that I know Sturge really likes as well. I have Drake London.
Yeah, I think Justin's a fan.
As a rookie, he didn't put up that great of numbers, but look at his quarterback play.
Desmond Ritter.
He's going as the 11th wide receiver off the board in most leagues, but I think he could have a top 5 finish with Kirk Cousins throwing the ball to him.
He's finally got a quarterback. I'll say one thing. He's finally got a quarterback. Justin?
I do think
You better like him. You traded for him.
well, no, I like Drake London. I do.
You traded for him with
you
a
s-
shit quarterback.
I
said
know.
he's going at wide receiver 11.
Yeah.
So I guess to me, I do feel like that draft price is maybe more so leaning towards his ceiling than his floor. I do love that Kirk Cousins came there. I'm personally hoping that he can have. I mean, he's not Justin Jefferson, but he came out of college with the same type of hype as some of the top receivers in the league, and I'm hoping that he can show this year what he actually has and finish a top 10 receiver at least with Kirk Cousins behind that quarterback.
You say
spot.
that he's not Justin Jefferson.
What quarterback made Justin Jefferson?
Kirk Cousins.
I mean, Justin Jefferson has definitely proven that he's one of the top receivers in the league.
But I also think that Drake London has a potential of being just as good, if not better.
Justin Jefferson has also produced with not Kirk Cousins at quarterback. So, I mean, while there has been a slight decline in production, like last year when Kirk Cousins got hurt at the end of the year, Justin Jefferson was still an elite receiver for fantasy. He wasn't putting up 200 yards a game and stupid stats, but he still was doing more than Drake London was doing with his putrid quarterbacks.
But he was also just a rookie.
It was also a different scheme. I mean, their scheme with Arthur Smith was more run heavy.
They literally had Desmond
pass.
Ridder.
Yeah.
No, I get
Where's
it.
Desmond at this year?
Free agency. He got cut by the Cardinals.
Exactly. I don't think he'll ever see another
NFL
team.
Yeah.
I think he probably goes to Canada or something.
So I'm not hating on Drake London. I'm just saying that he's being drafted high. So I think some of the cost of him currently is the hype that he's getting with Kirk Cousins. But I do like him as a pick, and I buy the hype, and I think he will be a good receiver this year in fantasy.
I like it. So our number 3, I'll go for it. I think I feel like I've always liked him since the day he was drafted, but I'm a big Noah Fant fan this year. And the reason for that being the Seahawks really, really believe in him. They signed him. But we gotta remember the dude split with two other tight ends last year, and was it Disley and
they're gone.
Parkinson.
Yeah.
And they signed with other teams. Noah Fant is the guy at tight end for Geno Smith this year. You better bet your bottom dollar that he's putting up number 1 tight end numbers week in and week out, and he is going to be fantastic this year. And you can probably get him
at the end
on free agency or very, very late when you're trying to figure out something to do. He is talented. He's I don't think he's had a fair chance to be the guy on not even in Denver. You saw really good flashes of him in Denver.
He's very
really
athletic.
Good. He's super athletic.
He is.
And he's great at blocking too. I mean, he's everything you want in my eyes.
People aren't looking about how good all around that team is. You can't just focus on the pass.
Right.
They have Kenneth Walker in the backfield. They have Lockett, Metcalf, Fant, Jackson Smith, and Jigma. That's going to be a scary offense to face.
Yeah.
And they have a good offensive line.
Yep.
And he's an Iowa tight end, came out the same year as TJ Hawkinson.
Right. And he's athletic. You hit it, man. This is going to be the year for him to either rise and shine or do. He's got to do or die.
Yep.
I think
this is the year for him.
I think him being undrafted, he's definitely if you have trash on your bench that you don't care about, you could grab him and give him a chance. I do think that he's someone you could probably wait and see week 1 and see how active he's involved in the pass attempts. And if he's someone who gets distributed the ball often, I think he's someone you could probably wait and pick up on waivers before week 2.
If you want to know Big Sturg's opinion, you start him week 1.
Okay.
Start him week 1.
That's bold,
I put my money on it. I'm putting my money on it. I think he is a top 5 tight end. He's going to have 700, 800 yards, and he's going to have 5-6 touchdowns.
I wish we had that alarm to bring back. That's a hot take, buddy.
It is a hot take. It is a hot take. But tell me what he doesn't have to be that tight end.
No, I don't. He could be it. I think have to see that offense.
Smith Jigma, in my opinion, wasn't hyped up what he was. He didn't live up to his hype last year.
I think he put up decent numbers.
I think he does this year, but because I think Noah Fant, he's going to come in, he's going to be targeted. The defense is just, there's so much there in Seattle.
It's
such a good.
They have a different OC coming in, a different. Pete Carroll retired. So, I mean, Mike McDonald's the new head coach.
So keep your eye out for Noah Fant. If Justin says late round, or just see how you can get him into free agency, or see how he does week 1 and then do it. So you guys talk about your number 3.
There's a question up there from Facebook. I don't know if you want to look at that.
Yeah, Dilly.
It's on the screen. You skipped one. There was one that was up.
No.
Are you talking about Austin?
The Kamara, yeah.
No, T Money.
There was one from Austin.
Should I trade Connor plus London for Bijan? I say no.
I would.
Bijan's a number number 3 back?
T Money, it depends on the way the rest of your team looks. Because I actually have talked about James Conner. He's missed 20% of every season that he's been a part of, so he is injury prone. But obviously, I do like Drake London. It depends on the rest of your team and what your other receivers and running backs look like. If you need an elite running back, then yes.
But you don't want to miss out on a receiver. What's your send us who do you have on your team? Send us your lineup, man.
If you have receiver depth, I would definitely do that. Bijan is going to be a tier 1 running back, probably top 3, if at least top 5, if not top 3 this year. And you can put another receiver in there and probably get more points in total between the two than Connor and London. I do like Connor of old. There's been a lot of hype around Trey Benson coming in behind him. To Dylan's point, Connor is injury prone. I mean, I do like Connor later in, but I mean, if you can get a back of Bijan's caliber, just for London and Connor,
you know what?
I personally would do it.
With that team, I would do it because you can easily move DK into London's role.
Oh, for sure.
And then you have Josh Jacobs and
did
Bijan.
He send it? Can you keep
10-man PPR.
Post it.
Mahomes, Jacobs, Connor, CeeDee Lamb, London, Kincaid, DK, Worthy, and Ridley. I would do that in a heartbeat in that case, because you just move Bijan into the running back, you move DK up, and you can't go wrong with Ridley in your flex.
Well, and here's another thing too. You said PPR. James Conner is not really a PPR running back. He's more of a carry type guy. So with Bijan, you're adding in catches now because he's going to get a lot of catches, and those are the type of backs you want to target in PPR leagues.
I would do that trade.
He's got a pretty scary. I said no, but now I say yes.
Yeah, with the rest of that lineup, I would do it because DK is going to, in my opinion, you don't lose much with DK going in for London, and you just gain from Connor and Bijan.
Now, T Money, don't forget, this is the American Whiskey page. This is another podcast we do, but run over and get on the Cheesy Ponies YouTube or Facebook. We'll post it in the comments here in a bit and follow us because we're going to be doing this every Monday.
I like the team, though.
So
can we make sure we go back to that the last question that we bounced from about Kamara?
Yeah. Can you put that up, please?
It wasn't a question. It was more of just a statement. He was talking about Kamara being older, but still producing at the same levels like you guys were talking about with Mostert.
Yeah. I think the one thing that helps Kamara retain value is he's not been very efficient lately. But one thing that you can rely on is the fact that he is going to be targeted often, and he's going to get the bulk of the carries. I do think that Taysom could maybe try to come in and take some, but I mean, Kamara just has the volume that you can't ignore. So regardless of how efficient he is, you don't care. He's going to always be at least a running back 2 with RB1 upside.
Yeah.
Justin, I disagree with you there.
I don't.
You said he hasn't been as efficient, but he put up 233 fantasy points last year.
But I also think you need to. But he's talking week in and week out.
How many
he's
yards
talking about his effectiveness week in and week out.
How many catches is he getting for every 10 yards? I mean, I watched him last year and he got a ton of catches.
Well, let's be honest, we all 3 watched him.
But like a lot of his catches were in the backfield and he got tackled immediately. So like you would get in full PPR, you get a point for that catch, but he went -1 yard. So all you got was a point for the catch. And if you're in a standard or half PPR, like you're not getting as like my point was he wasn't efficient with his carries or catches. He got a lot of them, which helped him keep a high floor. But like the offense is putrid.
He was just getting dumped on.
That offense is not good. And him being the only weapon makes it easy for defense to key on him.
So Justin, who do you have on your number 3?
I have one more receiver, and then I have two other positions after that.
Okay.
So, I mean, this one may be a popular one. I know a lot of things I've listened to like this guy a lot. Rashee Rice. He really shouldn't be where he's at in drafts. The only reason he's at where he is at is because of the suspension concerns after his off the field issues this offseason. They immediately dropped him far in fantasy drafts way before drafts even started. And as we get closer and closer to the season, they pretty much said that there's no risk of him getting suspended until they let the legal proceedings play out. And usually in these situations, if we're this close to the season at this point, he's probably not going to see any type of suspension until next season. There's a rare scenario where maybe the end of this year he could, but oftentimes that's not the case. So I do think Rashee Rice needs a full season. And I think his draft stock right now is really just trying to rebound still from the initial drop. So if you're in a league and you're smart, you can get him later than he should be going, but just make sure you're paying attention to how close you're getting to him in the snake draft or whatever you're doing, because other people out there with you could also be looking at him. So you want to make sure you snag him first, but definitely someone you can wait on and grab later. They can easily be a wide receiver too. I mean, he was Patrick Mahomes' top weapon last year. Kelsey's declining. Xavier Worthy's exciting, but he's a rookie all the same. And Rashid he showed last year that he's the guy for Patrick. So I don't see that changing this year.
I like it. Dylan.
I agree with them. I was looking at getting Rashee Rice in almost all my drafts, but people were high on him and took him pretty early.
I absolutely agree. I think he's a fantastic get. And in my eyes, he's a number one. So I think that offense is going to be explosive. Am I wrong? I mean, it's just going to be. It is every year.
I think they're projected to have more receiving yards this year than last year. Yeah, last year was kind of a down year for Patrick and the whole offense.
So, but they were also adjusting to not having top notch, his landing crew of receivers. So it was a learning process, I think, for that offense.
I agree with that.
So what do you got, Dylan?
Do you want to bounce back to Austin, or you want to keep going?
Wait, to Austin? He's wanting to know is the lack of efficiency. Talking about Kamara from him aging or lack of other weapons around him. I think I think Justin hit it. Instead of Derek Carr, throwing to a different receiver or throwing the ball away, the line he would dump it off to Kamara and the line would break down and he would get hit 4 or 5 yards back. And I think that's what I don't think it's necessary of his age or lack of other weapons. It's just the decision making of the quarterback.
And I'm the opposite spectrum here. Yes, his rushing yards went down, and that might have been something to do with the offensive line. But I was looking up the stats; he was averaging 6.2 yards a reception still.
I don't think I think you're twisting what Justin's saying.
No, I'm saying 6.2 yards a reception. You had 75. That's efficiency right there.
Yeah. I mean, he was not a top running back last year.
He was RB11 in the league.
He was not a top running back last year.
And
so the reason, and now imagine if he wasn't getting stuff behind the line on getting some of these dump off passes. He's a top 2 running back.
Well, I'm saying I don't think it's on the passes. I think it was his run game that hindered him. And that was because the offensive line, the pass game was there for him.
Yeah.
That's what brought him up.
I like Kamara. I think Kamara is a great running back to have on your team. But
I guess this is the last thing I'll say. I mean, I'm not crapping on Kamara at all. Like I think he could be a sleeper as well. Because I can't remember exactly what running back number he's being drafted. You said he finished 11 last year. I know he's being drafted beyond RB11. So I definitely still think that his value is lower than it should be.
But I think everyone was watching him last year. There's a reason everyone is passing on him.
Right.
There's a reason for it.
He wasn't the Kamara last year that he has been in years past, where he just has stupid numbers.
Right.
But he also had a different offense last year. Last year was the first year of Derek Carr. That whole offense looked terrible. I don't think anyone who had Saints offensive players from fantasy last year was happy with him, because I know Chris Olave was going high. Kamara was going high. Like, none of the fantasy players from the Saints last year on offense met what drafters would have expected of them. And as far as the aging or lack of other weapons, I think both play a role. I mean, he's 29. He's never been a power back. To me, he's always been he's shifty and he can catch the ball real well. So, I mean, he's one you typically want to get out of the backfield or give him a big hole to get through quickly. So when they stack him at the line, it's going to be hard for him to be efficient from a running lane. But yeah, no, I think aging a little bit. I definitely will lean probably.
Well, he's
heavier.
going into his 8th year, right?
Yeah,
I think it's his 8th year.
Yeah.
I think even he's probably feeling somewhat amount of urgency to be more productive this year. I think he's probably feeling that.
Right.
He's 29 years old. It's his 8th season. He's dealt with some injuries. He's
time for a comeback year.
It's a comeback year for him. You're right. He did put up decent numbers, but he didn't put up enough.
I was optimistic about Derek Carr going into last year because I honestly don't think he's a terrible quarterback.
I just don't think that system's for him.
Yeah, and I don't. Maybe he'll do better the second year because I think they retained the same offensive staff if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
They did.
So sometimes teams play better the second year with the system when they're more.
Maybe Taysom Hill will take over.
Well, Justin, if it means anything, and how highly I think he's going to finish this year, I reached and I took him 22 overall.
Okay, yeah, that's not bad at all.
So, did you?
We're on number 3.
Go for it.
This is going to shock you because you know how highly I was of him. That he's my number 3 and not number 2 or 1. Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
So Kyler Murray, from the second he stepped back onto the field after his knee injury, he looked as explosive as he's ever been. Now you add Marvin Harrison Jr., James Conner. Who's the backup for James Conner? Trey Benson.
Trey Benson, yeah.
You have a lot of upside looking for him now that he didn't have last year. And now he has a full camp with Trey McBride that became his number 1 target. I think they're going to be dangerous together.
I don't like him.
Okay.
I don't like him. I don't know. I just don't think. I hope he does well. I want to see Marvin succeed, and in order for Marvin to succeed, he has to succeed. I just feel like that explosiveness is not there, but I want him to be good. So he would probably I had him at 5, or if you come look at my paper, I had him at 5 because I still feel like he could be, but something just doesn't let me want him on my team. I don't know what it is, but Dylan talks about him every day.
I think he's going to be one of the top fantasy quarterbacks.
Who should I? We do have another comment. It says Parker wants to know who should I start, Sutton, Devontae Smith, or Flowers? I say Devontae.
Who are they playing week 1?
Yeah, Devontae, I don't know. I'm biased here because I'm a Packers fan, but Jair Alexander does like to shut receivers up, and he makes it a point to shut them down.
Well,
and they're playing the Chargers.
The Eagles are?
No,
yeah,
Sutton, sorry.
Sutton's playing the Seahawks. That's a Bronco.
Oh, never mind. That's Carlos Sutton, right?
Cortland Sutton,
yeah, sorry.
Who does
I like Devontae
play?
though. I don't know.
They play on Thursday against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
That could be a high scoring game.
Well, and they lost L'Jarius Sneed this year in Kansas City. I don't know who he was.
I don't think you start Sutton.
Honestly, no. I call me a homer. I think that Sutton's going to be the number 1 receiver in that offense, and I think Bo Nix is going to throw a lot.
For me, I have to see that in a real game before I start him.
Matchups, different games. I would go Smith, but I think the Packers secondary is upgraded this year on top of Jair always being a shutdown corner. They just got Xavier McKinney that's also going to shut down stuff over the top, and that's what Smith does.
Sutton just scares me because you don't know that. We don't know in a real live game like this how they are going to match up together. I like Sutton. He's probably my second person that I'd start.
I know Sutton. Yeah, I mean, so Sutton has a new quarterback. They didn't play.
Parker, send us your lineup. Who you got in there? What are your other receiving options?
They didn't play Marvin Mims much in the preseason. Marvin Mims is going to be an over-the-top guy. I mean, Sutton's going to be that big body guy. I think he's going to get the majority of the targets. Probably if they get
of course.
to the red zone.
And
I like your tight end too.
And I think they want to keep Javonte healthy this year, so I think they're going to go more pass.
So with that being said, I do want.
Can I just with Devontae? The only thing that scares me is AJ Brown is such a number 1 in that on that team. There's just weeks where in the past Devontae Smith has disappeared, or he has mediocre weeks because they just target AJ Brown more.
It's because he's a stud.
Now, to your point, Dylan, I mean, it's going to depend on matchups with those corners, who covers who. I don't know if the Packers have their corners move with the receivers or if they stay on their own side.
Jair follows.
We do have Parker. We have his lineup.
I don't think you can go wrong because you're going to win.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
That's a really good one.
So that's the flex position.
I go Sutton in my flex.
Yeah,
I take a risk.
I like Sutton's upside. I think if you're going for upside, I think Sutton.
So we got 2-1 here. I'm going Devontae Smith. They're going Sutton. I don't think you go wrong with either one.
No, and that's like I'm saying. Other weeks, I would agree with you 100%. But I think they're going to double team AJ, and they're going to let Jair follow Devontae just to shut him down.
All right, so we're going to move the 2 because I'm excited about this one. And I know Justin just talked about the Broncos being that's why it's called Cheesy Ponies, guys. You got 2 Packers fans, and then you got a Broncos fan back there with Justin. I'm going Bo Nix, number 2. He's my number 2. I think the preseason, he had a great preseason. Again, that doesn't really tell us a lot. Aaron Rodgers just said it. Preseason's an absolute joke, and it's not football. But with that being said, you saw him go out there and efficiently manage the game. That's what I thought was the best thing that he did. He didn't try to do too much, but he managed the game, and I think they've missed that over the last 5-6 years there. So, and the other thing is, you guys, for like anyone shitting on it, anyone pooping on this guy, realize, look at his numbers from college and look how smart he is.
Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bo Nix, right? Huh?
He was a COVID guy.
He played what, like 9 years?
He played a lot. 5 or 6 years.
But that's what I'm saying. Look at all those years. He doesn't make mistakes.
He doesn't turn the ball over, and he's one of the most efficient in
managing
history.
And he manages the offense. That's what you got when his head coach, man, was in with the Saints and Drew Bledsoe. Or not Drew Bledsoe, but oh my gosh.
Sean Payton?
Yeah, Sean Payton and the Saints. I'm blanking here.
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees, thank you. What did you get out of Drew Brees other than the fact that he was amazing quarterback? He's efficient. He managed his offense. You're going to, I don't care if he throws 4,000 yards this year, Bo, or not. He's going to manage the offense. He's going to do well. And I think that coaching staff has a lot of faith in him.
They do.
A lot of faith. Now, the question in Denver is right now, is it Stidham or is it Zach Wilson backing him up? And I'm probably going to say it's Zach Wilson.
I would go Zach too.
I don't think anyone wants to know. We want it to be Bo and not have to have a second.
But like you were saying, Sturge, this is the first year where you're going to see Sean Payton fully deploy the lineup that he wants out there.
And I don't even think they're done yet. I still don't see this team being much over 500 because I still don't think that they're done yet. But they are super close.
They don't have the offensive line Sean Payton
They're super close. They're not bad.
We have a pretty good offensive line.
They're not great. But what I'm saying is I don't think this is your Super Bowl year.
No.
But I do believe that you guys are a year or two from being the team you were 10 years ago.
Do you know what our projected win total is right now?
10.
Probably 6.5.
5.5.
Okay, well, I think that's stupid. I think Bo Nix pulls off close games because he's an athlete and he's smart. So when you got the 2-minute drill on the field, Bo Nix is in control. He beats defenses that are hyped up because he's calm and collected. That's what he brings to the table. He's managing well. I see him throwing a little over 3,000 yards, maybe 15 touchdowns, but you're going to see this in there. 2 interceptions, 3 interceptions.
Yeah, he's going to
that's what he's going to do. So he's
going to make mistakes.
He is, but he's not going to throw a lot of interceptions. He doesn't. And it's just like JJ McCarthy.
He learns from his mistakes.
And some of those mistakes that people call mistakes in quarterbacks, and it's frustrating for me, just because a quarterback went 7 for 13, he might have had 4 drops.
Yep.
So you're going to see that because they do have a young receiving crew too. You have Sutton there who's sure-handed, right? You see a ball his way, he's probably catching it. But you have a young receiving crew. But I also like Javonte, and I think he takes a lot of pressure off of Bo Nix this year to have to be that 4,000 yard, 30 touchdown guy, because you guys have not seen the full potential of Javonte Williams.
Oh,
And that's
no.
why I've got his card sitting over here.
He's been injury riddled. Now he has a full off season to get healthy.
Dude, the dude has the legs the size of Montana. Like
He's just been unlucky.
He has had a very shitty like couple years, and it sucks. But this is the year you're going to see him tear it up.
He's gonna be the main back there. Jaleel McLaughlin will get some carries. He'll be kind of the Darren Sproles guy.
Actually, like your number 3.
And Audric Estime, we picked up from Notre Dame this offseason
in
the draft.
Dylan was just talking about him.
I do think he could take some of the goal line and third and close carries from Javonte. So for fantasy, that could potentially take away from Javonte numbers. But
you guys have that. I think you have that. My point was you guys have the running back room to take some pressure off of that Bo Nix trying to get in there and establish by that offense.
Yep.
But sounds to me, just from what I've heard, he's a really great leader. Bo Nix is.
Yep.
So he's a good locker room guy, and he's a humble guy. So you're gonna. Justin? Who you think's the biggest quarterback coming out of the draft? What did I say at B-Dubs?
Did you say Bo Nix?
I said Bo Nix. I kept saying Bo Nix. I've always said Bo Nix.
And people were pissed off when they took him.
Yeah.
And he was like, I told you.
Yeah. I was like, it's Bo Nix. It wasn't a surprise for me. I was excited for Denver because they finally got a franchise quarterback. They didn't have it in Russ. I said when Russ went there, that was never going to happen.
Russ is just washed up.
I think so too. So
I don't think he was given a fair shake. I don't know what he is. Honestly,
we're gonna find out because he's got a good team over there.
I like Arthur Smith's system for him. I think that's the perfect system, the RPO.
We're gonna see. So who's next? So we got number 2.
Since you were just talking about someone that's injury riddled that could have a bounce back year.
You guys skipped my second pick.
I'm still number 2.
He's going.
Oh, okay.
I just jumped in because he was talking about someone that's injury riddled, and that's my player. I'm going Christian Watson for our pack. They finally figured out this offseason and said that he was going through some weird growth spurts that his body just wasn't adjusting to, like for football speed. They got him on a workout plan. They got him at the correct weight, and they said they fixed it. When he's on the field, he's clearly the number 1 for Green Bay.
And I like that too because, people don't realize these men, they're men, but they're coming out of college 20, 21, 22 years old. And the problem is they're still growing. Look, you can see the way he was running. It was awkward. Like, It's almost like he didn't know how to use his body, but I think he's a clear number 1.
But now he's grown into it. They said his growth spurt's over, and now he has a full off season of strength and conditioning for it, where he can go out and reconnect with Jordan Love, where there's obviously a connection there.
What do you think?
I was hoping that one of you guys would school me on the Packers receivers this year because last year was just a mess with Christian Watson being in and out with injuries. I think even a couple of Romeo Dobbs had hot weeks. Dontavian Wicks had a couple of weeks.
There was like 5 receivers no one ever heard of that were productive for him.
Well,
why is that? Jordan Love.
Yeah. Well, I still felt that way this year because I'm like, when I'm drafting the Packers receivers in fantasy, who do I care about?
You have 3 top guys that could be number 1 guys.
I mean, I agree. Christian Watson is the most dominant receiver there. He's the big body guy. But I know Jaden Reed has had a lot of hype coming into this season from his performance.
He's the home run threat.
All right, boys, we're at a 5. We got the 5-minute warning here. We're in for an hour.
Okay.
So let's speed this up here.
Did we have another question pop up?
Yeah, we have Austin between Russ or Justin Fields. I think we leave that for next week, but I'm just gonna say I think Justin Fields takes over that job.
Agreed.
That's what I think.
Nah.
Justin's not gonna believe that.
Who's your number 2, Justin?
Well, I was gonna follow you up after Kyler Murray because my next guy, and I'm gonna say real quick too, the guys I said aren't in any particular order. I'm just going down the list as I put them on here. Trey McBride, one of the guys that you said
that's Dylan's boy.
Trey McBride. I mean, he's going as I think the 4th or 5th tight end in fantasy drafts. As soon as Kyler came back last year, Trey McBride was, if not the top, he was one of the top tight ends in fantasy football week in and week out. He was seeing, I think, close to 10 targets per game, like insane volume for a tight end.
Yeah.
I think even with Marvin Harrison coming in this year, they have to have more than one weapon to take him down the field in the passing game. So I think Trey still holds a heavy role in the passing game. And
if Kyler's going to be successful, it's going to be because he's playing a big part of it.
Yeah, yep. I think Trey is at least a top 3 tight end.
Agreed.
I would not be surprised if he finished as the top end this year.
Dylan?
No, I agree with him 100%. he hit on every bit of that. Even teams that were double teaming towards the end, they can't do that this year with Marvin Harrison. I think that's going to be a scary offense.
So number 1, I got Josh Jacobs. He was the leading back 2 years ago in the NFL. I think last year with the injuries and stuff, he wasn't able to be that guy. The offensive line was probably the worst in the NFL. I don't think that you can judge his year last year and his effectiveness last year, but I do believe he comes into with the Packers' solid O-line and possibly, really, really, really makes a lot of noise. And I don't just put him there because I'm a Packers fan, but you got to also realize he is a lone back now.
Yep.
He is the lone back there.
AJ Dillon went down.
So, I mean, you say lone back, and I guess I've been curious because I've heard a lot of hype about this new running back they drafted.
Lloyd.
From USC, Marshawn Lloyd.
I like him.
What do you see his role being like this season with the void of running backs there? Because,
10 carries or under.
Yeah, I agree with that because the thing is Lloyd was going to be pretty much the poor man's. I don't want to say poor man's because he's going to be good, but he was going to be like the Josh Jacobs role when he wasn't in the game because AJ Dillon's a power back.
Right.
Those two are change of pace backs. So now that lessens Lloyd's role in my eyes.
Right. I completely agree.
I mean, you think that Josh Jacobs can hold up carrying that many times this season?
I do.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think he took a lot of damage last year. I didn't see him, I don't think he was putting himself out there last year necessarily.
He was checked out.
What about from a passing game from the backfield? I mean, do you see Marshawn Lloyd getting many
I don't.
out of the backfield?
I don't. I think
Josh
with
Jacobs is that guy.
Yeah, and if it's not going down to him, you've got 2 number 1 tight ends.
Okay.
Who's your number 1, Justin?
I know you said before we started this that you weren't a fan, but I think that Dak Prescott isn't being drafted soon enough in the quarterback tiers.
I hate it.
Now, Justin, I'm not saying I'm not a fan because let's be real. The first 8 games of the season, Dak Prescott shows out and he's always number 1. But then he tails off like he forgets how to play football.
He actually started slow last year and finished strong. So he did the opposite last year. And he's finished, I think, close to top 5 quarterback for the last few years.
But normally he doesn't start out strong.
I mean, he's got one. So he's got the best fantasy receiver in football in CeeDee Lamb. I mean, they have Brandon Cooks there. They have their offensive line isn't what it used to be, but I mean, they don't really. Who's the running backs? Like, you believe in
Zeke?
Yeah, I do.
In him.
An old freaking Zeke and Rico Dowdle? No,
I believe in it.
He didn't do it last year.
He
wasn't effective last year.
He slimmed
Him
down.
and Tony Pollard both sucked last year. Dude, how old is Zeke?
Hey Siri.
He didn't get beat up last year though.
How old is Zeke?
He's old.
32.
It says 29. I swear he was playing it for Ohio State when I was in high school. Maybe not.
No,
sir.
So I don't know. He's so like Zeke's per carry yards have gone down.
All right, we're right there, guys. Dylan, number 1, we're out of here.
All I have to do is say Jaden Daniels last year, 3,812 yards, 72.2%, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
But who trusts the Commanders to win games?
148.8 QBR, 1,134 yards on the ground, and 10 more touchdowns. You have Scary Terry there. You have Austin Eckler there at the number 2 back.
Behind?
Brian Robinson.
Yeah, baby.
Wasn't it?
He got shot and came back. I like that, dude.
But you have Austin Eckler at your 2 back. That's a receiving back. You have everything for Jaden Daniels to succeed.
Boys, listen, we say we're not going to bore you with 2-hour nonsense, so we're keeping it an hour or under. So check back next Monday. Check out our Facebook. Check out our YouTube. We might even be doing some little shorts throughout the week to help you better yourself and better your team. We love you guys. I'm Big Sturg.
I'm Justice League.
And this is Justin.
And we are Cheesy Ponies.